Greetings, my friends. It is I, Dr. Jimmy, at your service. And accompanying me, as usual, is Lenny the Wonder Cat. Oh, where is she? Oh, there she is. Oh, well, maybe you won't be seeing her in this video. She appears to be taking a cat nap. Cats like to sleep quite a bit during the day, and so she's resting comfortably on a pillow over on the day bed. So perhaps she won't come over and join us. I apologize for lack of cat in the video in that case. You never know what she might do, though. God only knows the machinations of the feline mind. Oh, excuse me. I have to be careful with my evil laughs. Don't want to hurt myself. Today is Monday, February 4th, 2019. And as most of you should already be aware, the event of Universal Orlando Halloween Horror Nights 29 will begin this year on the evening of Friday, September 6th. Yes, therefore it is only 7 months and 2 days until Halloween Horror Nights begins again. Oh, how wonderful, indeed. Or if you want to think about it, it's 30 weeks and 4 days. Or 214 days. It's getting closer all the time. How exciting. Which leads me then to the first thing I would like to talk about. Because you see, in just a month from now on Wednesday, March 6th, it will then be 6 months to Horror Nights, which is half a year. And some people would like to celebrate what they're calling halfway to Horror Nights. I would like to talk a little bit about that before I get into the meat of this video. Yes, I have mentioned once or twice in the past a nice gentleman named Sean McCarthy, who runs what he calls Twisted Haunt Productions, as well as the Twisted Haunt Foundation. Twisted Haunt Productions puts on haunted events, especially at local pubs up a little north of Orlando, I believe, and different times throughout the year, not just Halloween. I understand they're quite marvelous. The Twisted Haunt Foundation, however, is a charity which raises funds to fight against cancer and also to help rescue animals find forever homes. Both of these worthy charities are very dear to my heart, indeed. You see, my mother and my sister are both cancer survivors, and even my poor little cat Bob, who died just a little more than 2 years ago, succumbed to cancer. Now, of course, the cancer research is for humans and not animals, but I would imagine that the more we learn to cure cancer in humans, it will also help veterinary medicine as well. Oh, it's terrible what happened to my dear little Bobcat. But I also need to point out that Bob was a rescue cat, and so was Lenny. Lenny is a rescue cat, and I am very much in favor of these charities to help little animals who are in shelters to find people to take care of them and give them a home for the rest of their little lives, and also to get rid of that terrible scourge of cancer, which has caused so much pain and tragedy. Therefore, I heartily endorse Sean McCarthy's efforts, and there is a wonderful event coming up next month, because we are reaching halfway to Horror Nights after all, and he's going to throw a party, a special haunted event next month, which is called Halfway to Horror Nights, and he was very kind to invite me. I would like to be there myself, indeed. I don't know just yet if I'll be able to make the event. I would like to. I haven't quite gotten all of my schedule cleared up for March yet. I don't know. I may have to go on a business trip or have work or something that would preclude me from attending, but hopefully I'll be able to be there. Again, I cannot promise that, and I know he's invited other people who are involved in Horror Nights directly. Whether any of them will actually be there or not, I don't know, because, you know, I'm not privy to such information, and whether they accept or decline. But I know he's hoping to get lots of interesting people, and even if it's only other Horror Nights fans, it'll still be a marvelous event, I'm sure, and quite a lot of fun. There's one of the Horror Nights blogs, I think it's the one called HHN Freaks, or perhaps it's Freaks of Horror Nights. I don't remember exactly what they call themselves, but something like that, are also co-sponsoring the event. And some of the proceeds for the ticket sales will indeed be going to the charities that I mentioned. So it is a worthy cause you'll be supporting, as well as having a lot of fun at this haunted party. Now, the information, let me give that out to you, and I happen to have an iPad here, and here it is, the page. You go to Twisted Haunt Inc. That's Twisted Haunt, INC, all one word, .ticketleap, all one word, .com. That will take you to a page which I'm sure you can look up whatever event that you could get tickets for. And the event is Halfway to Horror Nights. This is what the page looks like, you see. And they also have information at their Facebook and at Twitter as well. You can go to Twisted Haunt and look them up if you're at those social medias, and they're sure to have a link to take you to this site as well. And it says, "Are you twisted or freaky?" And that's because, of course, there are Twisted Haunt and the Freaks are both putting this on. And some of us are both, of course, and even more than that. It should be a wonderful event, which is being held at the Ultra Bar and Nightclub, which is 3260 North U.S. Highway 1792 in Longwood, Florida, zip code 32750. So that is the location where this will be happening. I don't know anything about the Ultra Bar, lounge and nightclub. I just hope it isn't one of those stripper bars. That's a different kind of horror altogether. Or is it a different kind of whore nights? No, let's not go there. But go to the party. I'm sure it's not anything nasty. It's going to be fun. And who knows who might be attending? Maybe even me. The cat won't be there, though, I can tell you that. Kitties don't like nightclubs. At least my cat doesn't. At any rate, it's going to be held on the date of Saturday, March 9th, 2019, beginning at 8 o'clock in the morning and maybe going all the way to midnight. Sounds like a blast. So I heartily recommend it, and you can purchase your tickets at the site I showed you and told you, which you can probably find links at Facebook or Twitter if you go to Twisted Haunt on either of those. Or, of course, as I said, the site itself, Twisted Haunt Inc. That's INC, incorporated, twistedhauntinc.ticketleap.com. So, again, sounds like a marvelous party at the very least. All right, so after that, I shall now, and hopefully by then we'll learn all sorts of interesting things about Horror Nights we can speculate and talk about. Before I continue further, though, there is a t-shirt that I'm wearing today, and as usual, I'll show you what it is. This is the Gozerian Society, founded in 1920 in New York City by Ivo Shandor. Vogus Zildrahar, one of the names of Gozer, is seen there. Looks a bit Illuminati, doesn't it? Quite spooky. Yes, that was the cult started by the twisted architect and warlock Ivo Shandor, who was a worshipper of Gozer the Gozerian, Gozer the Traveler, the Destructor, Voga Zildrahar. Yes. Are you a god? Yes, good old Gozer. He or she took a female form, but can also take a male form. I mean, these sort of eldritch beings are beyond human gender. I suppose you can call them non-binary. Aim for the flat top. Yes. Don't cross the streams. No. Yeah. So, good little thing. But now let's get on to what this whole video is all about. Now, information about Halloween Horror Nights events leaks and leaks earlier and earlier every darn year, to such an extent that back in the day we got it much later in the year, and only a few people might have heard a few things, and if they have decent sources, they might, not wanting to cause trouble for the people that might have leaked, or sometimes it's heard 2 or 3, it goes through 2 or 3 people before it gets to you. So you don't even know who the leaker is. And so you might want to be cautious and just put a clue out, maybe cryptically. I don't know whoever would have done something like that. But, but in the past few years, it's gotten stupid, and so much information just gets out. Nowadays, someone hears what's going to happen, they just go ahead and post it, with no cryptic anything at all. And it just gets ridiculous, and now too much information gets out too soon. But this isn't about direct information exactly, it's about code names. Because apparently some of the code names, or perhaps all the code names, for haunted houses for Halloween Horror Nights 29 may have actually already leaked. Apparently as early as January. My goodness. And that, of course, doesn't tell us exactly what the haunted houses are, but gives us a lot of fun because we can speculate, what do these code names mean? I must, therefore, talk a little bit about the code name thing to begin with, because some people may not be aware of how this all has come about and what code names are specifically for Horror Nights. You see, many, many years ago, indeed, I'm going back to history again, although this video wasn't meant to be a history video. This is looking into the future. Ooh. Yes, get your crystal balls and your tarot cards and your Ouija boards to read the future. No, but to go back to the past, a little more than a decade ago. At that time, if anyone wanted to know what they were going to do at Horror Nights, all you had to do was go to a public office and read the records that are there for the public available, because Florida is a sunshine state and all of this information is by law on record for public access. But we never realized that all those years until 2008. 11 years ago, when a young fellow named Chad Burton, currently in charge of the HHN Rumors website, yes, he went over to the Public Records Office and took a look, my goodness, there were permits giving the names, the actual names of the haunted houses that year. And so we got them, and he proceeded to immediately post this right on the fan forum of those days, before Facebook, years before any of that social media. So he posted them on the fan forums called HHN Vault. Yes, the wonderful old HHN Vault. And everyone knew what the houses would be long before they were officially announced. Well, Universal, of course, those people working there said that won't do, and so the next year, 2009, 10 years ago, they decided to put code names on the permits instead. And so in 2009 we had to play funny guessing games. No, we had a lot of fun speculating what those code names might mean. Here's a house called Hammer. Here's one called Geppetto. What could that mean? Turned out eventually that Hammer was Saw and Geppetto was Chucky for Halloween Horror Nights 19 that year. And even then people guessed a lot too early, and so in 2010 then, Universal took advantage of a new law that had been passed. It's sometimes called the Harry Potter law, but it allows theme parks, especially, to not give all the information about what they're building, but just that they're building something. So from 2010 till today, the permits now read, temporary haunted attraction, haunted house for Halloween Horror Nights, and it doesn't say what the house is at all, not even a code name. Oh dear, all we can get from the permits now is where the houses will actually be in the park. And if we hadn't been announced it, we can determine, oh, this will be still at the studios and we're going to use the similar locations. So Soundstage 22, Sprung Tent 1, the parade building. We might know where the houses will be, but we don't know what they are yet because it doesn't say anything anymore, not even a code name. Oh, well. Nevertheless, in spite of that, the lovely people at Art and Design who create all of this for us every year and other departments that work on Horror Nights have continued to use code names, because then if they need to have an office memo or a discussion about what they're working on, and there might a memo that might be seen by people who might not necessarily need to know what the house is yet, or might be overheard by someone in the area, they won't just say what the house is, you see. For example, let's say a couple of years ago, someone from Art and Design was talking to one of their colleagues and say, hey, how are you coming along on gold? Have you got that scene finished yet? And they say, oh yes, I figured out how we're going to do it and what the special effect will be. It'll be quite marvelous. I think it'll work wonderful. Gold is coming along well. And if they were overheard, someone would say, gold? What's gold? And they wouldn't know that gold would be The Shining. That was the code name for The Shining in 2017. Ah. How clever. The Gold Ballroom from the Overlook Hotel, you see. Very, very interesting. That's what they do to this day. They use code names. But of course, all the information gets leaked so much earlier. And there are some websites, some people who anything they hear, any rumor, anything at all, they're going to post it right away, because that way they can be guaranteed that when the time comes they can say they were right, because if you post every single rumor, one of them has to be right, I guess. Although some of those rumors never should see the light of day because they're ridiculous. And it does muddy the waters quite a bit. Nevertheless, apparently someone has claimed that they have all 10, yes 10, like we had 10 houses last year, code names for the haunted houses for the upcoming event, Halloween Horror Nights 29. And they proceeded to go to one of the fan forums. It's called Inside Universal. It used to be called Orlando United, and it was in one of the older fan forums. I think it's older than Horror Night Nightmares. In fact, I think it's almost as old as the old vault would have been if it was still around. And I don't know all the people involved. They blog about all sorts of theme park stuff, but of course Horror Nights, there's always a forum for that and speculating about the upcoming Horror Nights. And there's some people who I think are involved with that. 3 fellows particularly. 2 of them are named Andrew, and 1 of them is named Brian. One of the Andrews goes by the handle Hate to Fly on the forums. Brian goes by Bryman or just Brian, and the other Andrew goes by Drew Bob or just Drew. And sometimes you might see them over at Horror Nights, 3 big burly men with beards. They look a bit like bears. Well, not gay bears, because they're straight boys, all 3 of them, as far as I know. But they sure do remind me of bears, and so when I see them, I go, bear, bear, bear! No, wait, that's for something else. Well, sort of something else. I'm not saying there's a connection, but never mind. I'm evil. Yes. So the 3 HHN bears, basically. Where's Goldilocks? So they're involved. I think they have something to do with running the forums there for Horror Nights. At least they post there quite a bit. But the person who started posting the code names calls themselves Orlando Villain. Ooh, sinister. Who is Orlando Villain? Is it someone from Universal itself, or someone who knows somebody? I have no idea. Somebody told me that they believe Orlando Villain is a woman. I do not know if that is a fact. I have no idea who this person is, and so just for convenience sake, I will use feminine pronouns just in case that person was right. If Orlando Villain is somehow watching this, and you are not female, I apologize for any inconvenience. But at any rate, she started posting the code names, which she said were the actual code names for 10 haunted houses for Halloween Horror Nights 29, beginning about a week and a half ago, I believe. And started posting one code word every day, and after a few of them, another person on the forum had made an inquiry about freaks. And I don't know if he was asking if a particular code name was about freaks or if freaks was a code name. At any rate, someone else answered that. Someone who is a bit notorious, a fellow named Jeff Blackman, who at one time would often be a scare actor at Horror Nights, but then left us. I've never actually met Jeff Blackman in person. I've met him as a scare actor. The last time I think I met him, he was wearing a beak on his face and was a plague doctor in 2010 in the Catacombs haunted house, but only as the scare actor in the house. I've never met him and talked to him and discussed stuff in person, although online all the time. And Jeff is an officer in the Army, apparently, and he went off to Virginia and is out doing major military things, apparently, and so is no longer around Orlando anymore. As I understand it, he last attended Halloween Horror Nights during the that's Disney to say cast, team member preview for 2011. And never went to the event after that, and has never come back to attend any Horror Nights since then. And yet he is still apparently obsessed with Horror Nights, and every year he tries to find out what happens ahead of time through various sources, apparently, and tries to then say he knows what's going on and put out cryptic clues. Long after that has become effective, and I don't do that anymore myself, but he continues that way on the fan forums, trying to get everyone to guess if they might or might not, and sometimes playing them, hoping they guess incorrectly, using the name Legacy at the different websites. Take that however you will, but he stepped in and said, Freaks is not one of the code names, but Onyx is. Onyx? So he was basically telling everyone, ha ha, I know these names myself. I have the code names too. Ha ha ha, everybody. I still know what's going on, not just Orlando Villain. And apparently Orlando Villain, when she saw that, said, well, if he might release all the names, and so I want to release them first. And so immediately after Jeff had said Onyx was a code name, she put out the complete list of 10 names. Okay, here they are, the names for Horror Nights this year. And she has sort of remained quiet after that. But there's a sequel, because after seeing all 10 code names, Jeff confirmed that indeed this matched the list he had, with one exception. He stated that one of those 10 names was different on his list. He never said which one of those 10 names was not the one that he had, or what the code name he had was. So we don't know what the other code name is that Jeff says he has, and which one of the 10 that Orlando Villain put out that it doesn't match up with. Except, of course, for Onyx, because Jeff had already confirmed Onyx, and so Onyx is on both lists. So it could be any one of the other 9 code names might be different from what Jeff has, but which one? We don't know. Why didn't Jeff just say what the code name was? Because he has an idea that Universal may have deliberately given out these different lists of code names with one little variation, and that's keyed. And they have given the list to different people who are working at Universal they suspect to be leakers. And that way, if it gets into the fan forums and into Facebook or wherever it gets, when it leaks, they can look down the list and see the keyed code word and know, aha, it was so-and-so who leaked. And then they can go and take punitive action, possibly even costing that person their job. So Jeff doesn't want to reveal the name that's different on his list because he thinks it might identify his source and burn that person. Then he won't get any more information again because that person will be gone. I suppose that makes a lot of sense, but there may be a different reason why there's a difference on the two lists, which we'll get to in a little bit. So, we will go with Orlando Villain's list, but with the caveat, we do not know if these are legit. Although Jeff has had sources in the past which has given him information, and he says that 9 of them match his, and he has been accurate in the past. So, if his source is good, then at least 9 of these may be the actual code names. Perhaps all 10. Are they or are they not legit? I don't know, but I tend to lean toward it being more legit. But again, take it with a grain of salt, which is kind of funny because one of the code names is Salt. What are the code names, Jimmy? Tell us. All right. The code names are Chicken, Drill, Onyx, Dog, Pit, Pressure, Cotton, Jerky, Hysteria, Salt. My goodness, that sounds like Chicago and the opening of the Cell Block Tango. Chicken, Drill, Onyx, Dog, Pit, Pressure, Cotton, Jerky, Hysteria, Salt. He had it coming. He had it coming. Yes. Get a little Bob Fosse here. Yeah. All right. Okay. Sorry. Broadway humor. If Legacy's watching, he's probably laughing because he's a theater nerd. All right. So, chicken. Let's think about these, and let's just assume they are legit. Orlando Villain, whoever she is, seems to think they're legit. Chicken. Well, there's been a lot of speculation about Poultrygeist, a Larry Kaufman film from Troma Pictures, crazy low-budget schlocky horror movie about Thanksgiving turkeys coming back from beyond, and a bit of a vegan message about that. I don't know if chicken it would be that. A chicken and a turkey are both birds, but maybe it's something else entirely. Chicken. Well, I have my own funny. Oh, here's Lenny after all. She did show up. Maybe she wants some chicken. Did you hear me talk about food? Oh, look, there's a good cat. Oh, that's a pussy cat. Lenny's adorable. She has to show up and ham it up for us. That's a good Lenny. So she did show up after all. What fun. All right. I have an idea about chicken which is completely preposterous, but it reminds me, of course, of Back to the Future. And Back to the Future Part 2, we had a whole terrible scenario when, of course, Biff... You're standing on the iPad. Don't click on something. Cat might order cat food like Harrison Ford's dog did last night in those commercials for the Super Bowl. Oh, did you see that? It was terrible. The worst Super Bowl ever. Ugh. The only thing I really liked were the television advertisements, especially the ones for Jordan, what's his name? Is it Peele, Jordan Peele, yes, Jordan Peele's his upcoming movie, Us, and The Twilight Zone. Ooh, goody. He's making The Twilight Zone as a new television program. Once again, that sounds delightful. Some creepy little clips from an upcoming Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark by Guillermo del Toro. That should be amazing as well. And the Avengers Endgame movie. And there was some other fun commercials with the Bud Light Knight getting killed by the Mountain from Game of Thrones. Yes. But commercials are the best thing about it, especially this year. Terrible match. Awful. Halftime show was bullshit too. Not good like Lady Gaga, Katy Perry, or Prince. But let's not talk about that. That was disappointing. So, Chicken, Back to the Future, that whole timeline with Biff. And I thought, ooh, they could make a haunted house like that, where you have a sort of imbecile billionaire taking over the country and turning it into a nightmarish dystopia where everything's going swirling down the drain. And of course that could never happen in oh dear, wait. Never mind. Drill. Well, I've heard some people make wild speculations about an original house that might resemble the Doctor Who episodes with the Silurian reptile people, and you drill down there. Again, it's too early to try to come up with original house concepts. We never know what that might be. Drill also could be a different meaning altogether, like a drill sergeant. Oh, Full Metal Jacket? I don't think that would be a haunted house. But do something involving the military, a drill type thing, as opposed to the sort that you would use. Or drill could refer to those little puppets with the drills on their heads that are part of the evil puppets created by André Toulon in the Puppet Master franchise. There was one of those films last year that was quite gruesome and horrifying and campy and bloody and gorgeous. It was called The Littlest Reich Puppet Master. It was actually the 13th Puppet Master movie. So they have a lot of material from that franchise if they want to go there. They've never used that at Horror Nights before. That might be interesting, actually. Who knows? Onyx. And onyx is a black stone. I have no black stone. Are there a company involved with Universal? I don't know if that has anything to do with it. Black Stone, I have no idea what onyx might be. Isn't that used for for some fancy toilets and I mean, you know, the furnishings and restrooms and countertops? No, I don't think that would be it. What would onyx be? Dog. Well, obvious speculation. Stranger Things 2. The demo dogs, like little D'Artagnan. That was Dustin's pet demo dog. Oh, yes, I think in that case, one of these code names probably is Stranger Things 2, because if there's one IP that's almost guaranteed to be here this year, it's the return of Stranger Things. I don't think it's too far-fetched. It would probably be shocking and surprising if they don't do Stranger Things again this year after all. It was so incredibly popular last year, and last year's house was only the first season. And there's been a second season that has all sorts of wonderful things, including the kids dressed up in Ghostbuster outfits. Oh, they'd have a hell of a good time with the Stranger Things 2 house, and I almost think it's almost impossible that it wouldn't be there. I would be actually very shocked if they didn't do it. So if they do have a Stranger Things 2 house, dog might be a code name for it. But other people have wondered if dog might not be the Thing. It's been speculated for the past several years the Thing may come back. And some people really want the Thing to come back. I don't know if they really need to do another Thing house at all. But dog would definitely, obviously, seem to fit in there as well. Pit. Well, a hole in the ground, or maybe... Oh dear. It's a locker room house. No, it's armpits from hell. No, the devil's armpit. No, that wasn't what it was called. It was called the devil's anus in Thor Ragnarok. But no, pit, a pit into the pit of hell. They did that a couple of years ago with Fallen. What about Brad Pitt? Maybe a Fight Club house? No, I don't think so. But Interview with a Vampire? Maybe. Although always remember to take a look at what company produced any of these movies. If it's Warner Brothers, it ain't happening. They're not giving up their properties. And if it's Fox, it's not likely to happen either, because of Disney having eaten Fox. So don't expect any aliens or anything like that. Or Predators, anything that's controlled by 20th Century Fox or Warner Brothers is out of the question. So far right now as things stand. Pit. Who knows? Pressure. I had a clever idea for that, which is obviously not going to happen, but I thought it would be quite funny if they could do a house based on last year's Vamp 85 New Year's Eve zone and have two different warring tribes of 1980s vampires, one which follow Freddie Mercury and Queen, and the other which follow David Bowie, and they're at war with each other, fighting over supremacy, while the song Under Pressure fills the house. Cotton. That brings up many ideas. Several people have speculated. Cotton. Sorry about that. I still have a little residual phlegm from a recent cold virus, which I haven't fully recovered from. Oh dear. But Cotton is the surname of most of the characters in the first Hellraiser movie. Uncle Frank and his brother, who was Ashley's dad. They're both named Cotton, thus Ashley's last name is Cotton. Was her name Ashley? I think so. And her stepmother, Julia, would be Mrs. Cotton, so it's the Cotton family. Oh, that could be if Hellraiser, if they can get the rights. That might be problematic. Likewise, the Scream franchise. There's a character in the Scream films referenced and then seen played by Liev Schreiber in the later installments, but referenced even in the first one. Cotton Weary, the person who is accused of having killed Sidney's mum, and then turns out later he was innocent. Cotton, then, is a name of a character from Scream as well as Hellraiser. Both of these properties are caught up in the same problem. They were released by Disney through the Miramax Dimension Films label. Now that is no longer a part of Disney. Dimension Films became its own entity and part of the Weinstein Company, or is it Weinstein? I think it's Weinstein. The Weinstein Company, and of course Harvey Weinstein has been exorcised from Hollywood with all of the rape charges. Apparently he's a real douche, and so he's out of that company, and they've actually sold Dimension off. It belongs to something called Lantern Productions now, and of course they were notoriously difficult to work with, which caused all sorts of trouble when they wanted to do a Scream house in Orlando back in 2015. And it's always been very complicated to get any rights from any property associated with Dimension, such as Hellraiser, or Scream, or The Crow, or what's the one with the angels? Is it called The Prophecy or something like that? There were a whole bunch of movies made there. A lot of interesting horror movies that came out in the 90s under that label, which might make some very nice horror night attractions, except now they can't use them because of the complications with all the rights being tangled up. But maybe Lantern is easier to work with. Who knows? I don't, so I can't say for sure if those are possible at the moment, but I'm inclined to doubt it. But there's another possibility for Cotton. There was a little film released by Universal a year or two ago called Get Out. Remember, I mentioned Jordan Peele earlier, and the wonderful commercial. Maybe I didn't. May have been in take one. This is actually my second attempt at this video. I got interrupted by an important phone call. I had to start all over. But if you watched the Super Bowl last night, it was terrible. Ugh, bad match. But there was a marvelous little promo for The Twilight Zone with Jordan Peele now as the new, and he did his movie Us was also mentioned. But before that, he started his horror career after years of comedy with his partner Keegan-Michael Key. He's now on his own making movies as a filmmaker, producer, director, writer, as well as an actor. And he started out with a little film called Get Out, which was a terrific box office smash and had a whole new level of horror with some race and political themes, but still quite marvelous. And a lot of people wondered if that might not be somewhere in Horror Nights because it's associated with Blumhouse and Universal. Could they actually be doing Get Out this year? Cotton was an important part of that, because if you remember, the fellow in the movie, I forget the name of the character offhand, but he escaped from where he was trapped. He escaped from being captured by picking at the leather chair he'd been tied in, and he picked out bits of cotton stuffing and put them into his ears, and that way he was able to avoid going into the sunken place when the lady did the teacup thing again. And it was highly ironic, and deliberately so. He actually saves his life by picking cotton, which of course has a certain connotation when we're talking about African Americans. And Jordan Peele did that deliberately as a bit of a joke. So Cotton then could be Get Out. That's intriguing. But who knows? Or maybe even Us, which is the next movie he's making, which will be released by Universal very soon, I understand. I think later this month. Jerky. Well, I immediately think of you know, the thing you eat, but you also think of jerky boys, jerky people. Who knows what jerky might mean? I have no idea. There's also turkey jerky. There's also buffalo jerky. Native Americans originally came up with jerky, so maybe there's something to do with a native burial ground or something. Maybe something where you bury your cat. Who knows? Hysteria. A lot of people think, especially those who think dog means the thing, think hysteria would be the Stranger Things code name because of all the hysteria over it last year. They have a point. And Stranger Things must be one of these code names because we're certain that's coming back, like I said. But indeed, hysteria could mean something else, because we know about the witch hysteria that brought about the Salem witch trials. I would love if this meant that we would see the chilling adventures of Sabrina from Netflix on as a haunted house, but I don't think that's possible either, because of course it's a Warner Brothers production, and they are not likely to allow that as the current time because they're doing their own haunts in California now. So that is unfortunate because that would have been wonderful. I love the show. To see the Dark Lord lurking around Horror Nights again. Unfortunately, though, it may not be, but they could use something to do with Salem and witches and the witch hysteria. They've done that sometimes. The Coven Scare Zone comes to mind. They might make a wonderful Salem-themed haunted house. And remember, the Salem Witch House was a haunted house in Singapore a couple of years ago. Finally, salt. Your guess is as good as mine, although there are a lot of possibilities that come to mind with salt. Salt is often used to repel evil. In Haitian voodoo, salt is sometimes used to contain a zombie. Salt can also be used when you're getting rid of something evil, when you to exorcise some unclean spirit by putting salt on the remains and then setting it aflame. This is a technique which has been used quite frequently on a very long-running horror television program, the longest-running horror television program of all time, which is still on the air. Could we at last be seeing Supernatural as an IP at Halloween Horror Nights? I have no idea, but Salt would be a good code name for that. Again, I have no clue if any of the speculation, whether you might see on the internet or whether I've mentioned myself for these 10 code names are accurate. They're just wild ideas that I'm throwing in the air, and maybe some of them might stick. Who knows? Chicken, drill, onyx, dog, pin, pressure, cotton, jerky, hysteria, salt. What does it mean? Again, going through them, when I said pit, not pin. For a second there I said pin, and I was thinking of pulling a pin on a hand grenade. But it's not pin, it's pit. Oh. Pit might also even refer to the Twilight Zone, if they're able to get with Jordan Peele on that. Between the pit of man's fear and the summit of his knowledge is how it used to always start out. Oh, my goodness, what do these mean? My guess is as good as anyone's, and who knows? And I do have to warn you again, because, as Jeff pointed out, he got a list with only 9 of those and a different altar. Which one of those code names was different on his list, he has not revealed. It may not be chicken, it may be something else. It may not be dog. It may be something else. It may not be jerky. It may be something else. We don't know except for onyx. And damn it, onyx is the one I have the least ideas about. Although it seems to me there's some sort of band called Onyx that has written some ominous music, and maybe some of it was in a horror movie. I'll have to look it up. Was it a Resident Evil movie? Maybe. Isn't there a new Resident Evil game now? The new Resident Evil 2? Oh, wouldn't it be fun to see Mr. X at Horror Nights? Again, just throwing ideas out in the air. They could do one. Remember the Resident Evil one they did a few years ago was rather camp and silly, but they could do one that was horrifying and terrible, just like the gameplay itself, and make it quite sinister. And that character, Mr. X, is just... I've seen the... I don't have any game-playing consoles anymore. I gave those away a long time ago. And I've seen video clips of some of the gameplay, especially featuring that horrible character, which reminds me in some ways of playing Silent Hill when Pyramid Head was after you and you just couldn't stop him. He seems to be unstoppable and horrifying, and I thought, my God, what a monster, and how sinister he looks. That might make a wonderful place. So, who knows what any of these code names mean, and indeed, we still aren't 100% certain that these are the legit code names. I'm sure in the near future more information may start to bubble out, and we'll get more leaks. And we'll probably know the whole list of houses sooner than we want to. Sooner than is of any propriety. But nevertheless, there's something else I may want to bring up. Because there has been a little rumor a couple of days ago on the internet where a person who tweets under the name Mayhem, frequently about Horror Nights, tweeted, "What? You said there's going to be 12? And then hashtag sadistic wonderment, which means it's about Horror Nights, because that's the hashtag he always uses for Horror Nights. Did somebody tell him there were going to be 12 haunted houses? 10, well, that's what we had last year, 10. And we've pondered if they might go up to 11, but 12? Where would they put them all? And I've heard some people speculating that, well, they could have all the same house locations, but a couple of them could hold 2 houses, like some of the sound stages, or even a dual run house. And they seem to think that it might be 1 house with 2 paths. So it's really 10 houses, but 2 of them might have dual runs with stuff from maybe previous years and some new stuff that's been added in. I don't know. Again, that's pure speculation. But could it be then that the reason that Jeff had a different code name on his list wasn't because of any attempt by Universal to track anyone, but rather because there are more than 10 code names? He just didn't get all of them. He and Orlando Villain got 10 and thought that was it and didn't bother going back for the 11th code name. And so there may be actually 11 or maybe 12 code names. That's probably too much to hope for. But if they did have so many houses and they weren't any kind of dual run, where could they stick them? I joked a little bit in my previous video about maybe the reason they kept saying Universal Orlando Resort when they announced the dates means they're using bits of both parks. If they have 12 houses, they almost have to be using the islands as well. as the studios. Again, I don't know if that's a fact. It's just speculation and wishful thinking on my part. But it's something to ponder, as we are in a moment now where we don't really know anything except what we think or hope. The only thing that we can be nearly certain about is the return of Stranger Things. As for anything else, it's anybody's guess. But I will say that in less than 2 months, yes, in less than 2 months, let me see exactly when it will be. Yes, it will be, this is a Monday, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. In 8 weeks from today exactly, yes, 8 weeks from today on another Monday, all the secrets of Halloween Horror Nights 29 will be revealed. By myself, right here on a video. Do the math and you'll know what I'm getting at. Oh dear. And beyond that, of course, more recently, hopefully, and I'm already an hour long on this video, I may be able to make my 15th part in my History of Halloween Horror Nights 25, in which I will resume talking about scare zones and start in on Psychoscarapy Unleashed. And whether I get that today or not, I don't know. Probably not, because it took me so long to get this one done. This isn't the first time I made the video today. I've had many, many false starts today before I got this done. But hopefully I might be able this evening to make another important video and finally get back and finish my cocktail videos from last year, as I still haven't got all the cocktails for the scare zones. If so, then this evening I will be presenting my cocktail video for Vamp 85 New Year's Eve. I hope so, because it is New Year's Eve. What? Well, sort of. All right, then. So, until we hear more about Horror Nights 29 and when I continue my histories and my cocktails, I will bid you a fond au revoir. Not an adieu, because I will see you again, hopefully. See you later. Auf Wiedersehen. Get the hell out of here. All of those wonderful goodbyes, as I will lurk into my cavern and contemplate what I'm going to do and come back to do it later. So until then, have fun thinking about and pondering these supposed code words. And see if you can figure them out. And if you do figure them out, feel free to put some comments below and give your own guesses what any of these wild things might mean. Ta-ta!